sat in and I listened to his discussion, and it brought me to tears. It absolutely did. I bought the book, took it home to my husband. In fact, I called my husband on my lunch. I said, "You got to read this book." And he did, from cover to cover. The book is Against All Odds, and it is about the plane crash from the Marshall University football team and how it affected Mr. Hicks. And from that, I will introduce Mr. Hicks and give him to you, and I appreciate so much you coming to join us.
Going to school wasn't easy. And of course, we had no clothes. So my shoes consisted of like just tops, and then we had cardboard and chicken wire. That secured it. Then by the time we walked from 6th Street to Grant School, at the time I was 4 in kindergarten, I had Miss Ritchie. She was my kindergarten teacher. And by the time I got to school, I'm walking down the hallway, and a piece of my cardboard falls on the floor, and then the kids, they can be so nice to you. They pick up, "Hey, you lost your soul." So I pick it up, but no, that's the way it was. And then of course we had that old bituminous coal, that big coal pot belly heater. It was right in the middle of the house. It was like it would get cherry red, and my parents would use that because we had no gas or electricity. They used wheat and the white potatoes. They put it underneath the grate, and the ashes, baked it. Mom, after melting that snow, and she had stuff for the pot. When we had it, she would pretty much put all the ingredients in and cook it on the top of the stove. So that was our heat and our stove. But I thank God there was something in me that said, "Don't quit." Because I learned that once the first time you quit, you'll find an excuse to quit, again and again. So I didn't want to be that first time. And I wanted to break that cycle of poverty and that cycle of not having. And I learned that knowledge was power. I didn't always have that because we've been a student athlete. I was a student athlete. In high school, I foretold a lot of opportunities that could have bettered myself. I learned the hard way. Going to college doesn't mean or determines your success. I see it as an endurance test, a test of will. And I just like the fact of learning that it opened a lot of doors for me. It enabled me to level the playing field and then not complain. And that's what I like about this country. It's so great. You can be a sharecropper's son, you can have nothing, but if you got that desire, and I found that every time I try to help myself, somebody helped me. I got help. That's why in my book, you mentioned characters. I try to give credit to all those that helped me. I try not to leave anybody behind. And, the people that was close to me in life, I never want to forget where I came from. I try to tell the kids the high school was a dress-up room for life. So you got to be attentive, and being attentive, that sets the groundwork for your future. And I told the students at Bickford, I said, be true to your core values when your parents aren't looking. They'll make that decision, a conscious decision not to do, the will to do or not to do. And a lot of those things come from within and how you were taught. It's not the coach's job to police each player, but it's the player's parents that's got to instill that value in them. And I told the guys in the school and the ladies, I said, just don't put yourself into a situation where you're going to make the news, whether print or by television. I said, try to be role models. My dad, who worked for Carlos Enceta, that's construction. We didn't have a car, so he walked to some job sites 10 miles one way. So my mom would pack in the Unita biscuits, sardines, he loved moon pies. And he was on his way. He had his coffee in the morning and he'd walk. And those are some of the things that I saw in my dad. I was like, he can do that, I can do that. And of course, there was no money around, but it was the strangest thing. When he got off job, Fridays he got his paycheck, he dressed up in a suit, had one of those big chest protector ties on, he'd get his check cash, and he'd have his money in his pocket, and I just wanted to feel it. Before I give it all to the bill collector, I just wanted to, at least know that I had it, and that's the way it was. But one day he was working, And you know, just the same steps. They were throwing those 8-inch blocks, 9-inch blocks of concrete. And one of those blocks hit the side of a concrete wall and it chipped off, and one of those pieces went into his eye. So he had to go to the hospital, and of course, a doctor at the time, it wasn't as sophisticated as it is now. He went in his eye and dug it out, and that left his eye, you know, he was blind, and, you know, for 40 years, and the rest of his life, I saw pus running out at the dinner table.
Jesus.
And those are the things that was most impactful to me, you know, as far as the accidents on the job. And then to follow up, I worked at Word Steel for summer jobs, and this safety guy used to come and do talks every Wednesday. I'm like, I might want to do that because it's good, clean, honest work. You know, it's not a job that you just walk over people. It's just a godly way of protecting people against themselves. And I thought, oh, I think I might like that. And then when I went on to college, I was in accounting, and then I was getting hurt a lot on the football field, so it was a lot of training, going to the treatment room, and I started getting behind. And I had a professor. He told me, well, you know, he said, that might not be for you. He said, safety might be something, and it all came together. I became a safety engineer. In fact, the night she died, I had gone to the Bear Little Relays, and I had, got a couple ribbons for placing in the 440 and the high jump. She had baked me a cake, and she was all happy, and she said, I'm gonna get you a typewriter tomorrow. I had another head, gave me $5, and that was on the night before Mother's Day. And then, you know, that night everything seemed to be calm, and then I had a little niece that was one of the grandchildren. She was very ornery. She slapped me in the back of the head, and she ran. So I kind of jacked her up a little bit. My mother kind of scolded me, and, you know, she was pretty upset with me. You know, I was like, you know, kids are kind of mad. They kind of put a damper on everything. So, I don't know, you all remember Chili Theater?
Yeah, Chili Billy.
You know, words call off. So it was about 1:32 a.m. it went off. I went to bed, and my dad, he comes, you know, I had been in bed no more than 5 minutes, and then he wakes me up. Lester, get up. He said, your mother's sick. So I said, okay. He said, so I come in, and I see her lying in bed, her eyes were open, so I knew she was passed. So I closed her eyes, and I called my sisters, and I let them know that, you know, that she was gone, that she wasn't sick, and then of course you could hear just the wailing of the sounds coming down the street because that was about 2 o'clock. And of course, undertakers came about 3:30, and I didn't understand it. The little boy, I was 16, and she had made us do the Mother Day speeches, and she got our clothes prepared. And of course, we lived like upstairs on the second level. And I realized that was a protocol. They had a body bag, and I thought, I ain't bringing my mom out of that, because she was, at the time she had gained weight, so it was just like a mess. They would just bring it down like, you know, it's like they were taking out garbage. I was very angry for years, you know, the fact that how that, you know, played out. But, you know, as I got older, I was able to understand. But just going back, you know, that's why I refused to quit, because, you know, she never saw my successes. Although my dad saw me play at Big Grand, he saw me play at the junior college level, and he even saw me play at Marshall. And those were the most gratifying things, and I was able to make it stop. And, you know, I hear him and, that's my boy, that's my boy. You know, he didn't understand the game, but he knew I did something good because he heard my name called. And those are the things that, you know, really made me hang in there and value education, because they didn't have one. You know, and I had to make a difference somewhere. Well, I wrote the book, and these are the players, and this is me on a play. And against all odds, it just basically they had no chance of survival. Just like at one time, my life had no chance of survival. The writing style, as you as a new author, author house, they love the Chicago style, and I wanted my readers to feel the pain and the suffering. You know, I want to take them to that sharecropper shack where the holes were porous, that we were cold. You know, the times that I was hungry and lonely. In fact, I went to Iowa Falls, Iowa, and although we were oppressed by the Klan in Georgia, we went to Iowa Falls, and surprisingly, the very first party, you know, what we see, a huge cross burning, because there was mixed dating. I'm like, whoa, this is not supposed to be in the script. Of course, the town there was different because there was no black residents that lived in the city. It was just athletes only. You had to go to Des Moines, Iowa, or Iowa State, or Iowa City to see a black family living. It was just the athletes. It was 48 athletes and 8 African-American females, so it had to be mixed dating. So consequently, the crosses, like, they were ablazing, you know, a lot. And then it stopped, you know. There was just scare tactics, and the whole city of Iowa wasn't bad. It was just a few people that just, you know, didn't get it. Because I met so many good friends there, and, you know, the bases, and of course they allowed me to you know, give the account of what happened in the book, and they put me in their archives and library. So, you know, 4 years ago, you know, there's been a lot dealing. And I was in junior college at the time in Iowa, and I'm sitting there eating pizza, and I see a caption across the TV, Marshall University plane crashes. My mind went back to the fact that, wow, those could have been my teammates. And I just felt compelled to go there. And then when I got there, I saw a picture of the crash victims. And there was one player in particular. It was by raw fascination. I saw Scotty Reese. He's from Waco, Texas. He was 5'11", 185. You know, he was about my weight, but shorter. He was born the same year. And I said, I want to play for that guy. And when I went back, I still wasn't quite sold. I wanted to play for him, but Marshall had been losing for the last 30, 40 years. You know, like going 1-10 every year. And I kind of wanted a little bit better for myself. But it was my date with destiny that I was supposed to be there. And there, you know, I was able to play on his behalf. And I would say supernaturally, because I played with a torn deltoid, and I had hepatitis as well. During that era, I was one of the biggest recruits Marshall ever had. And, you know, that was just something that I felt good now, knowing that I was able to put a brick in that foundation. When Marshall became the winningest program in the country, you know, we was one game over Florida State as being the nation's best. And that was a tremendous milestone and accomplishment. I got inspiration from so many places. And then after me punting suicide, and when I just called a friend of mine who was my employer, confidant, friend, and I was calling to say goodbye. And as I was talking to him, he started talking about how the crash victims, any one of those persons, would one have the worst of my day. I was telling him how bad my day was. And he said, wow, those crash victims are the worst of everybody's day. And he went on, and I thought about that, and I'm like, wow, I can't cop out. I can't take my life like this. And I decided at that point in time to choose life. And then I said, while I'm living, not just for me, but let me try to give back to the community. So I found myself trying to give back to the community. And that's been my commitment for the last 45 years of trying to mentor student athletes to make the athlete-student go away. Along the way, I've been blessed. At Lockheed Martin, I've held numerous positions of increasing responsibility. I've been on the Atlanta Journal-Constitution for 2 times on the front page. For Lockheed Martin publications and articles, I've been on most all aviation sales magazines throughout this country and the world. And won a lot of awards from the governor, 8 years, 21 awards. And the list goes on. Went to Marshall's Hall of Fame in 2005. And it's just been an honor being able to take the athlete part, to transform that into being a responsible citizen part. And there my life is today. A lot of things that I didn't even dream possible that I've been able to do, and not because of me, but all the people that helped me. And the people that helped me, when I asked, what can I do to help and pay you back, is to help the next person. And that's been my commitment. That being said, you know, if you don't take a chance, you don't stand a chance. Thank you.